I'm Kate with The Productive Teacher, and today we're going to play the word maker game with the ILT word family. One-syllable words have an onset, that's any letter or letters that come before the vowel in a word, and a rime, that's the vowel and any letters that come after it. All of the words in a word family have the same rime, but they can have different onsets. We are going to combine these onsets with this rime to make new words. As you watch the video, you can listen to me read the words, you can read the words with me, or you can mute the video and read the words by yourself. Let's get started. Built, spelled like this, built is not a word. Silt, spelled like this, silt is not a word. Dilt, dilt is not a word. Filt, filt is not a word. Jilt or gilt, neither of these are a word spelled this way. Hilt, hilt is a word. Jilt, jilt is not a word. Kilt, kilt is a word. Lilt, lilt is a word. Milt, milt is not a word. Nilt, nilt is not a word. Pilt, pilt is not a word. Rilt, rilt is not a word. Silt, silt is a word. Tilt, tilt is a word. Vilt, vilt is not a word. Wilt, wilt is a word. Yilt, yilt is not a word. Zilt, zilt is not a word. Chilt, chilt is not a word. Filt, filt is not a word. Shilt, shilt is not a word. Thilt, thilt is not a word. Quilt, quilt is a word. Wilt, spelled like this, wilt is not a word. Blilt, blilt is not a word. Brilt, brilt is not a word. Quilt, quilt is not a word. Quilt, quilt is not a word. Drilt, drilt is not a word. Flilt, flilt is not a word. Frilt, frilt is not a word. Glilt, glilt is not a word. Grilt, grilt is not a word. Plilt, plilt is not a word. Prilt, prilt is not a word. Slilt, slilt is not a word. Smilt, smilt is not a word. Spilt, spilt is not a word. Stilt, stilt is not a word. Trilt, trilt is not a word. Scrilt, scrilt is not a word. Shrilt, shrilt is not a word. Splilt, splilt is not a word. Squilt, squilt is not a word. Strilt, strilt is not a word. Thrilt, thrilt is not a word. Awesome job. Let's count up the words we made. All right, we made 7 words in the ILT word family. Awesome job. I will see you next time.